Every choice behind the wheel matters. That's the urgent reminder from Utah families who have lost teens in deadly crashes. In 2024, 18 teens lost their lives on Utah roadways. Of those, 12 were behind the wheel. News specialist Jody Reynosa spoke with some of the victims' families. Jody, what they have to say?
Yeah, those families are hoping, Debbie, to turn heartbreak into healing along these Utah roadways. In fact, this year, the theme for their book for Zero Fatalities is Forever Stitched in Our Hearts. Now, sadly, this is just filled with stories, very heartbreaking stories about teens who needlessly lost their lives and their families who have the warning cry of how it needs to be different. So mother Wendy Cowley shares the harrowing story of her daughter's fatal crash here at the Zero Fatalities event in Salt Lake. On July 27th, 2024, a month before her 17th birthday, Jax Cowley got into a car with friends who had been drinking.
With a driver that was going 112 miles an hour, and he was 3 times the legal limit of alcohol.
A tragedy Cowley hopes will encourage other teen drivers to implement safe habits behind the wheel and spark more parent involvement as teens take to the roads. And this memoriam, adorned with years of memories, honoring lives needlessly cut short, set up as a reminder to make life-saving choices on the road. Now, coming up at 6, we'll hear more about Jack's story and the sad story that his sister tells and how she's coping after losing her story from a very horrific motorcycle crash. Reporting live in Salt Lake, Jody Reynosa, KSL-5 News.
All right, thanks, Jody. Today, President Donald...
You're watching KSL News, live at 6.
New tonight, an urgent reminder from Utah families who lost teens in deadly crashes. At least a dozen teen drivers were killed across our state last year. News specialist Jody Reynosa spoke to some of the victims' families. Jody, I'm sure this is a hard time for them to remember these kinds of things.
That's right, and those families are hoping to transform heartbreak into healing along these Utah roadways. In fact, the theme for Zero Fatalities this year is called Forever Stitched in Our Hearts. And sadly, it's filled with so many heartbreaking stories of teens who needlessly died before their time and the warnings from their families.
I had a daughter who died a little over a year ago in a horrific car accident, a car crash.
Wendy Cowley is still processing the tragedy of her daughter's horrific death. Jax Cowley was only 2 weeks from her 17th birthday, a life taken too soon.
With a driver that was going 112 miles an hour, and he was 3 times the legal limit of alcohol.
Jax pinned under the car after it flipped and caught on fire.
The car started on fire immediately. She had 2 broken femurs, a broken tibula, and she had a broken left elbow.
Jax died after succumbing to the smoke and fire.
It was nighttime, and she had run the red light and was texting.
Riley Sarl explains the circumstances of her sister's death. 18-year-old Alexis Sarl.
Her spinal brain cord was detached from her body, so she became internally decapitated.
After speeding and texting, a deadly combination.
She had broken pretty much everything below her waist.
From panic attacks to isolation, Riley realized she needed connection.
After a while, that being around other people, having people support, whether it's just a friend, whether it's your family, it's a really big part of getting through everything.
And families say equally important to that safe driver training, you need to express love and forgiveness to all of your family members. They say they were unfortunately in disagreements with those loved ones before they died. If you want to learn more, head to KSL-TV.com. Reporting in Salt Lake, Jody Reynosa, KSL-5 News.
Those are powerful stories, Jody. Thank you. Utah Republicans now need to